known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation as the traditional keepers of this land. We honor them for having lived here and cared for this land from time immemorial. We appreciate the opportunity to live, work, and play in this beautiful place.
This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests today are from the Bluewater District School Board. No strangers to Politically Speaking. Lori Wilder, who is the Director of Education, and Jane Thomson, who is the chair of the board. And good to have you both back. This is the last time we talked school, we were singing School's Out for Summer, doing a little Alice Cooper imitation. But hey, it's a beautiful fall day. The leaves are absolutely glorious.
And it feels a little bit like summer.
Doesn't it?
It does.
And we're a long, long, long way from those snow days that you all know and love. Oh, did I say something profane? I apologize.
Yeah.
I used a 4-letter word.
Inclement weather is not our friend, David, that's for sure.
Well, there's a lot of things happening at the Bluewater Board, and I have to say, I saw something recently, we'll get this going here, that I have not seen in years, and that is temporary revisions for the Dundalk and Flesherton area, which means that, well, we've talked about the development in Southgate and the impact it's having on the schools in the south end of Grey County, but oh my goodness, you're actually moving students and busing students between schools, and everybody's confused, I'm sure. Tell us about it. What's the straight scoop here?
Well, we hope that they're not confused. We've done a lot of communication in this regard, so on our social media and with school messenger messages to parents. So, I mean, it's a good news story. We did get approval to build a new school in Dundalk because both of our schools there currently are really over capacity, and we have some portables down there. The influx of folks coming to that area is just immense. So having said that, we have a new school coming, but as we know, though, it takes a while for those to build. So in the meantime, we're looking to moving some students around. So from one of the Dundalk schools, High Point, those grade 7 and 8 students will be moving to Grey Highlands, which is Grey Highlands currently secondary school. So they'll be moving there for about probably the next 3 years. So anybody in 7 and 8. And then students, we've created what are called holding zones. And that is a fairly new concept to us in Bluewater, but it's not a new concept to those who live in, for example, the growth areas of Peel, Halton, GTA area. So a holding zone is when a home is built, wherever it might be, those families are told that those students will be going to McPhail in Flesherton from the Dundalk area because we can't currently accommodate them in the schools that are full. So we don't have, those homes still have to be built. So it won't impact anybody currently, but it will impact people new to the area. We're having an information evening this evening so that folks can come and they can take a look at some of the architectural drawings for the new building, the new school, which is great, and to answer any questions that they might have in regards to the changes. But we have also have a Q&A section on our website that people can send questions into and get quick responses back. And I'm thankful, I think because of the communication that's been happening, that we haven't had a lot of questions coming forward. They might be saving them for this evening, which is good too. But it's just exciting times really down in Dundalk, and the fact that we've got approval for this new build.
That's actually quite remarkable because I know that there was a lot of toing and froing and coming and going and in and out and roundabout with Beavercrest because of the in fact, at one point, I recall that Ashley Chapman was prepared to pony up millions of dollars to move this forward. Kudos to Ashley on that, and because the Chapman family understands the need for schools, but and we shall not talk about the time it has taken to build the Markdale Hospital. But you've got approval already for a new school in Dundalk, and
Yes.
you've got the plan is already in place, and it sounds like there is some real energy behind all of this.
Oh, there certainly is. I don't know, Jane, if you wanted to add anything to that, but it is very exciting news.
I mean, as much as you say it seems very quick, it's not the first application that went before the ministry for a new build in Dundalk. So it has been on the books for a while, and there has been discussion going on. So that allows it to have some momentum at this point, because it's not brand new news to anyone. We knew this was coming for quite some time.
Well, this raises another question that actually came up at a recent meeting of Owen Sound City Council. And we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth restating, and that is the communication between municipalities and the Board of Education. And when you said, Jane, this is not the first application, this has been in the works for a while then.
Well, it's been a growth area for quite some time, and we looked at different possibilities of how we could reconfigure or grow the school to accommodate the population down there, because we've had the portables for some time. But our first applications weren't approved by the ministry, but there has been support, certainly from the local municipal government for planning for how we'll deal with our students.
Jane is right, if I might add. We do work in partnership with the municipalities. And when our proposal wasn't accepted the first go around by the ministry, I know there was a lot of advocacy work that was being done by certain councillors who might go to conferences whereby they could speak to ministers, appropriate ministers who would have some influence on those decisions. So this is certainly one they couldn't ignore. And I do appreciate the partnership that we've had with the municipality in that area.
It's funny you should say that, Laurie, because a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to the warden, who also happens to be mayor of Southgate. And one of the interesting things that he said, which struck me, was he goes to meetings like AMO and Roma and so on. And he said, I just stay out of the big meetings and the plenaries. He said, I find it's much more effective to wander the halls and buttonhole a minister and to make sure that the assistant gets my card and I get the assistant's card or the minister's card, so that we are, we've got some, they know the issue I want to talk about. So that's probably one of the ways that you've been having an advocate among the municipality, at least at the municipal level.
Those personal connections are so important. I agree. The one-on-one conversations are much better. So I approve of that strategy. Obviously, it's worked in this regard, and I'm thankful for it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the point. It drives home the point that relationships in politics, just as in education, matter.
Yes.
We've talked about the relationships that you folks have with your fellow trustees, your other trustees in other communities, at your trustees conferences, and it matters. It matters.
And can I just go ahead, Jane?
I was going to say, with our community partners too, there was a lot of advocacy that our parents did in the Dundalk area, also recognizing the need and communicating that to the minister. You mentioned Ashley Chapman. We have lots of excellent partnerships with community, and that's so valuable.
Yes. I mean, if our MPs remember those conversations, because if there are 16 people who approach them over a period of time and say, hey, what are you doing about the school in Dundalk? That sticks.
I was just going to add, you had mentioned Chapman Ice Cream, and I just wanted to acknowledge here on this program and thank them, because even though the ministry wouldn't allow them to contribute money towards a new school per se, a new build, that wasn't part of the regulations that was allowed. They have contributed some money to the new Beavercrest that is going to be ready soon, but we're not sure exactly when the students will be entering the building. But they've donated money for things like window coverings or playground equipment. Those kinds of, that funding is not provided by the ministry. So I know that Chapman's had done their own media release on this, so we're very thankful for them coming forward with funding to support that.
To be sure, because, well, the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There we
Absolutely.
go.
Yes.
There we go.
And ice cream.
That's true. That's very, very true. I want to move on to something that is also very interesting, and it's one of those metrics that we get into in education, and that is the EQAO. And all you've got to do is mention EQAO to students, and they start to tremble in their boots. I know my kids did, because there was a huge emphasis on it. But what's the word on this year, or last year's EQ, well, the most recent EQAO, let's say?
Well, I can start. It's really a celebration year for us, David, because there are 9 categories between grade 3 reading, writing, and math, the same for 6. Then we have a grade 9 math, and we also have the grade 10 literacy of those who have written before and those who haven't. So it's 7 of the 9 categories. In Bluewater, we have improved our scores, and in many of those significantly so. So we are just thrilled. That would demonstrate to us that the work that that teachers are doing in their classrooms and educational assistants supporting whatever has had a really positive impact. So even we've been working, all boards in the province work with a math team of sorts from the province, and they gave us a call to say they were just so thrilled with the increases they'd seen in our math scores, the significant increases. So and the OSSLT, the grade 10 Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, of all of the EQAO, that one is a graduation requirement. And so in that one, we exceeded the province rates in that. We had, for those who, first-time students writing the test, we had 86%. So the province for that one was, I believe, around 84. So it's quite a celebration, and just an indicator of the relentless efforts of our educators and administrators in working to improve student achievement. So we're just thrilled.
To what do you attribute it? I mean, yes, everyone works hard, but are there any factors that you can point to? I mean, when during COVID, there was serious concern about the EQAO results being below par. What changed? What's the difference now?
So through our budget deliberations and supported by our trustees, we were able to introduce some positions to support primary literacy and junior literacy, and the same with math. We introduced some math coaches positions. I think they've been instrumental in going, and they work directly with students and with teachers. So I think the work that they've been doing has had a big impact. As well, the Ontario Human Rights Commission came out with a right to read report that you might be familiar with. Like, every student has a right to be able to read. And with that, we've always in Bluewater used evidence-based strategies, but we've really quite embraced them. We now have screeners that we use with students to see where they're at, different assessments we use. And so our evidence-based programming has worked. In math, we have a program called Math Up, and that also has been, it's a great program for students. We have, for readers who are struggling, we have programs, computer-based, like Lexia is a term, and Empower is another term for those students who might need more assistance. So I think it's just that personalization, knowing every student, where they're at, and providing the supports that they need. And on a more operational note, all of the EQAO scores are now done, or testing is done on computer. And so we just had every administrator come up with a plan with their staff. You need a plan to ensure students can access the computer, that they've had practice on the computer, they've done a few practice questions. I think that makes a significant difference as well. over the years, there's been a switch from handwritten to online. And I know that wasn't easy for some students. And even in Grey and Bruce counties, even with some of our internet access issues, I had visited a school once during EQAO testing, and the whole internet shut down during the testing process. So something that perhaps our boards in the GT area would never ever face. So anyway, there's just there's been a real attention put on it, and it's made a lovely impact.
Mm-hmm.
I think just to add to, I think the EQAO process itself has changed over the years. You mentioned your students. I remember it used to be several days. That has changed. It's not that anymore, but it's gone from paper to computer. The whole process has changed. So sometimes it feels like we're comparing apples and oranges in the results that we're seeing. And then the pandemic layered in there. So it's a really good news story. I know how hard the staff has been working. We've had many reports come before the board of the different strategies that are being used. So it's exciting news, and I look forward to the future years when there's some stability in the testing system, hopefully, and we see the results of the strategies that have been implemented.
Well, I'm going back to my student days when we did those tests on punch cards. Seriously. What's a punch card? I don't know what a punch card is, but you had a special pencil, and, God forbid you lost it or broke it, it was a special computer readable pencil. And it was quite a rigmarole. I remember writing some of those. It wasn't EQAO when I was in school, but there were still tests that you did, and it was punch cards. Oh, just reminds me how old I actually am.
Actually, I remember those.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm pleased to hear that there has been deep progress, and B, the results are far better than you had hoped, and that's a good thing, and certainly shows some of the diligence of staff and students, because they're a big part of this as well.
Absolutely.
Now let's move on to adult continuing education. I mean, we always think of school ending at grade 12. I almost said grade 13, grade 12. But it doesn't. There is a component of the board that does adult education.
Yes, we've had this for well over, I think it's about 4 years now, this department of sorts, and it offers a great opportunity for the adults in our region. And it's again, when we talk about personalization, this is very much personalized to the student and their needs. So there's a variety of learning environments for the students to achieve what they need to achieve. And we are finding that we are graduating a lot of students who now come out with their Ontario Secondary School diploma. And I just wanted to mention, I do have a few stats on just how many students we've had in that program, which are just phenomenal. I think, so for last year, we had over 200 students graduate from the program. And this year, we've actually got the same number. So sometimes I think, boy, we are going to saturate the market and we won't have any more students, but that is not the case. So currently enrolled this year, we have 202 students. And as I said, they can do it. There's some things like we offer night school sections of English and math, and they're going to be starting in December. And we have, it's a PLAR process. It's called prior learning assessment. So a student, even if they feel like, oh my gosh, in high school, I only got 8 credits or 6 credits, there's a whole process whereby they can be recognized for the life and work experience that they've had since they've been out of school, which can give them credits so that they can get much, much closer to a diploma, and that they won't have as much to do to receive their diploma. So it's continuing to grow. It's helping these students prepare for maybe post-secondary experiences if they want, apprenticeships, workplace, or school. It's just, and I think from a confidence point of view, the adult ed graduations are the best. They're just, these people have some of them have very tough life stories. And for them now to be achieving this goal at certain stages of their life is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Now, is there any cost for this?
No, there is no cost.
Okay.
And
So
the
there
age
is-
range, David, is wide, 80-year-olds to 20-year-olds. So certainly, if anyone
Did you
thinks
say
they-
80?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. People that just have always wished that they had followed through and got their high school graduation diploma. So for anyone that thinks that that's something they'd like to do or need it for their next advancement in their career, they should look into it, because it's a lot of flexibility and it may be closer than they think.
You know, it's funny you should say that, Jane. I was just thinking, back in the Stone Age when I was in high school, you could leave at grade 10. And you could
Yes.
legally leave at grade 10. I think you had to have parental consent, but you could leave at grade 10, but you didn't get your high school graduation. People went off into the world. I had friends who did that. So this is an opportunity for anyone who may have done that. And I'm thinking of those people who are in that upper age cohort that you mentioned, an opportunity to go back and hey, complete that work that might be possible. Hey, what a great retirement project!
Mhm.
You know?
No,
Great
it's just,
for some people.
it is a great opportunity for people. As I mentioned, just the thing, it's on our website. So if folks are interested, please check out our website. But as I said, it can be some night courses, or there's online options too, which really, I think, works with people, because many of these folks are currently working themselves while trying to do this. So there are online options which they can access at any time of the day.
Sure. Well, there's lots of possibilities. In other words,
Yes.
who says school has to end at grade 12? Not me.
Exactly.
Not me at all. I think it's a great opportunity. And you know, I was just watching something recently. There was a woman who graduated from university at the age of 93.
Oh, fantastic.
Lovely. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that isn't common, but there are those stories out there. So if people really want to do it, they're only limited by their own drive and imagination, I guess.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, let's move on to one of the big things that I know is a part of the board's work is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Because we do have Indigenous students, and there are schools within the board who have Indigenous students. What was special about this year's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in the board?
Well, this is our fourth annual day of celebration. And I think what I find special is that no more is it becoming just a day. It's becoming recognized throughout the year. And that is what I'm hearing from our students and our staff, our administrators. They recognize that no more is it just about the day. But although having said that, the day is a time really to outwardly demonstrate our support of our Indigenous communities and students and partners. So the orange that was being worn that day was phenomenal. It was throughout the board, which is lovely. That just shows how we're honoring folks, but also different schools held events, because our Indigenous population is spread throughout our board quite widely, although we know we have some schools with a higher population of Indigenous students than others. So every one of our schools hosted some kind of event. One of an event that did get a lot of media attention was, of course, the one that GC Houston Public School in Southampton did. And because they very much do the ceremony on the bridge, the bridge that connects the town of Southampton with Saugeen First Nation community. And so members of the community, members of the school, and Southampton community walk to the middle of the bridge. They close it down for the time being, and they have a bit of a ceremony there and recognizing how the two communities have come together. That school as well had a sacred fire, an assembly. They had activities throughout the whole day, singing and drumming, And then other schools did that as well. Peninsula Shores District School in Wyerton, they had smudging that was happening, and they distribute orange shirts to all of those in junior kindergarten so that they would have those shirts, and the grade 12 students delivered those, which is lovely. And it's just it is a great day, but we are doing a lot to celebrate and honor our Indigenous students throughout the year.
Have the older students had the opportunity to speak with residential school survivors?
Oh, I would say yes. In many of our classes, the elders will come in, or the survivors have come in. I've had the opportunity to hear them in assemblies and or just class to class. It is heart-wrenching, like the stories that are shared. Just to get a sense of what those folks went through is just something else. So hard for folks to believe. And sadly, many of our people, our community still don't know that even happened. Thank goodness we are now able to educate better than we ever have before on that.
Because that generation is also leaving us.
Yes.
Yes.
So the stories become, I wouldn't say diluted. They're easily not retained. Although stories of the 60s scoop and stories of missing and murdered Indigenous women are also out there. The residential schools is still something to remember.
I would just to add, the story on the board website has lots of links and information in it if people are interested in more information, certainly with respect to our schools and what's happening, but even more broadly, it's very informative. So I would encourage people to take a look there if they're interested.
What also, let's move on a little bit and talk about youth wellness. This has been an ongoing issue, certainly since COVID, because we know the hit that youth took in mental health during COVID. What's the situation? Are things leveling out, or are they just as bad as they were?
Well, I would say that there are like our students do struggle with mental health issues. I think that as a society, we're better at recognizing the stigma has decreased a bit, so that we're more open about that in terms of identification and or support and treatment that might be required. And this event, the mental health, well, it's not even an event, this mental health champions, it's allowing the student voice to be heard around youth mental health. And that's so important to hear what the students have to say. So we did offer a youth champion day here at the board office, and we had about 80 students come, 80 mental health leaders from our secondary schools that came. And so it was a day led by our mental health staff and or community partners that like Public Health was here, and Keystone were here as well with some other organizations. And the day was really about helping these students become wellness champions, youth wellness champions in their school, to improve the mental health of their fellow students and well-being of their peers, and just promoting mental health initiatives within their school and activities. So they had some examples were shared with them of things that they could do. They had different workshops about, you could think so that they could have a monthly wellness plan that they can take back to their schools and work through with the administrator in how to bring this forward. So and also then the afternoon was spent, we had different organizations here, and the students would rotate through and split and talk to the different organizations that were here. One was on promoting self-expression and wellness. The other was on connections between music and mental health. We had mindfulness and calming skills. And then interesting, the last one was just around tips on supporting students struggling with vaping, because that is an issue too in some of our schools. So it's a provincial initiative actually between the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, Public Health, and School Mental Health Ontario with a school board. So it's well needed in our system.
Sure. Well, we have to take a break because there's somebody wants to have something to say, so we'll do that. We'll let them, and we'll be back in very, very shortly. So stay with us, friends. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking, and yeah, we'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
This is Rogers TV.
Here are 3 reasons why your social strategies should include Rogers TV. Reason number 1 is we have hyper-local audiences. The community TV channel gives you a chance to engage with people where you live, so you really get to know your neighbors and they get to know you. Reason number 2 is we can help diversify your distribution. With social media, it's really important to be able to have a wider audience, and Rogers TV can actually help complement your online presence by delivering to a different audience. And it's actually really easy to repurpose your existing content or to just create new material specifically tailored for community TV. And finally, reason number 3 is we can help enhance your credibility and your trust. And by aligning your brand with Rogers TV, you can tap into that trust that viewers have. This can boost your reputation, especially among viewers who favor local businesses and value community involvement. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy to build your local audience with Rogers TV.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests are Lori Wilder, who is the Director of Education for the Bluewater School Board, and Jane Thomson, who is the Chair of the School Board. So, well, let me ask you another question. Jane, you are elected as Chair. It's an annual basis, correct?
Correct. Yes, our inaugural meeting will be in November.
All right. So that's when there will be a new chair elected.
Correct.
All right. I won't embarrass you by asking if you're going to stay again, because that is your decision. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that you've had an interesting year. That there has been, there's been a lot of issues that have come up, and it's you've had an interesting job, but it must have been a challenge some days.
We have had a challenging year, and yes, it is a challenge. We rely on all trustees when we are elected, know the expectation of the role and what our code of conduct says, and we have an obligation to follow that. So, when we see something that's not within that scope, we have to do our best to resolve that. So it has been a challenging year.
And just to be crystal clear, you mentioned the code of conduct, and every governance body has one. Municipalities do. You do. In the municipal world, they have an integrity commissioner. Does the school board have a similar structure?
We're in a bit of flux. The government is making some adjustments to our code of conduct policy. I don't think it will look very different in terms of the actual code of conduct, but integrity commissioners will be an expectation that will be part of our code of conduct, and they'll have a bigger role in terms of determining the sanctions or the consequences if a code was found to have been breached.
And when do you expect that to be in play? Before the next election?
In the new year, yes, before the new, yeah.
Well, that's certainly something to watch for, and I'm not going to go down into the rabbit hole of the Bluewater board, but the conduct of trustees in general across the province has been certainly headline news in some cases.
Yes.
Sometimes it's conduct, sometimes it's money being spent. It's just so. Do you think this will have a better effect on keeping trustees sort of between the guardrails?
I would hope so. I mean, I think the reality for any elected official is to take that responsibility on for themselves. Our focus is our kids. It should be our kids, the work of the school board. So the rest becomes a distraction. It takes away the time that we should be spending on the core work that we're there to do. So it really shouldn't be an issue at all. It's just, we need to have everybody get in, do the job that they're elected to do. And, but certainly I hope if necessary, if we need it, I hope that the tools are helpful.
Yeah. And speaking of trustees, we are 2 years out from an election. And would I be remiss if I suggested that people who are interested in running for a trustee to find out more information?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think, the more you're informed about the role that you're taking on, the better for everyone. I think absolutely they should reach out. I'd be happy to speak to anyone. But yes, there's lots of information around. OPSPA, the Ontario Public School Board Association, people could find information there. Yes, it will go quickly. I mean, a school year goes quickly. So we'll be around till June before we know it. And then it's just the next year, really. So, yes.
Oh, I know that there are efforts in Ontario, if not Canada, to see more women elected in municipal offices and provincial and federal offices. But I think we forget that the school trustees are also elected. And one of the things that I've always found kind of, I won't say sad, but it's disappointing, is that there are acclamations. And I'm not sure that serves us well. Because if we have people who are prepared to stand up, at least they can speak about what they believe, and instead of being acclaimed. So, and by the way, if you think you don't have a chance, try it. You just might. You never know.
Yeah.
Speaking to the viewers here, you never know.
Yes, you never know.
Jane, how long have you served as a trustee?
Well, this is my third term. So, and a term being 4 years. So I'm in 12 years.
So it'll be 12 years by the time we come to the next election.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll save the unasked question for a little closer to the.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. You think it's a long time, but the ministry. Education changes yearly, monthly. There's always new things that are coming along. It's a very complex system. So what you think you understand and know and you start, and what you learn as you go along is, quite interesting. And then to understand how everything intersects and the best way that you can have influence or be supportive of that. So it's a real learning curve, and it carries on for a long time.
Well, Laurie, I remember your predecessor, Alana Murray, saying that we are all experts in two things: the healthcare system and the education system, because we've all gone through both of those systems, and in the healthcare system, we are using it at every point in our lives. But as you say, there's been a lot of changes. I do remember doing an interview with one of the trustees just before he retired, who had been a member of the old Grey County Board. And, that's going back. So school trustees tend to be a little longer lasting, dare I say it, than municipal politicians?
For some, yes, there's some that have served for a long time.
Mm-hmm. So there's still tread life left. He used the automotive analogy. Anyway, let's go back to some of the other conversations that are happening. What's happening with transportation? The big yellow buses are on the road. They're running in front of my house twice a day. They make a lot of noise.
Oh. Well, it's a good news story from us, our point of view, but I guess perhaps not from your point of view. We have more buses. More bus routes back on the road. Last year when we started, we had 312, and this year we started with 325. So that's more bus routes that are transporting students around Grey and Bruce County, and a full complement of drivers.
Ah, that's a good thing, because I know that we've talked in the past about recruitment of drivers, and there was some real issues about shortage of drivers. And I know down in Toronto they had to cancel well over 100 routes because of lack of qualifications. It was a technical issue apparently, but that's part of it. So you don't have a shortage of drivers right now?
No.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. I was talking too with folks from the transportation department, and they said this year, and I am touching wood, was the best year in terms of number of calls they received. Things went very, very smoothly in the fall in terms of students accessing their bus routes. So I wonder, like, I know we really struggled just around after the COVID period. I would think some drivers, because many of them are retired from positions that they've held. So they probably thought, no, I'm not wanting to drive just post-COVID, because we were still a little unsure of things. And so now that's worked itself out more, and we have folks coming forward to drive. So we're very, very thankful that we're in this position.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things. You just watch for the school buses and obey the flashing lights. And
yes. And if I can put a little plug, it was in the media, but we did have a student hit this year who was attempting to get onto a bus in the morning, and a person didn't stop for the bus. The lights and everything didn't stop. So thank goodness the driver stayed, and the student was just scratches on, so the injuries weren't significant, but it could have been far, far worse. Mm-hmm. So people need to pay attention. Honestly, there are a lot of buses on the road, and pay attention to those lights. The amber ones too, that's a new introduction in the last little while. Like, if you see those lights, that's your sign right then, before the red ones even come on. Please stop for our little ones.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to miss a bus.
Oh,
really? They're yellow. They flash lights. But it's not just those. They've got the high visibility lights on the top, on the roof. Mm-hmm. That came out of, I believe, the States as a way to protect buses in fog. Mm-hmm. Those blinding strobe lights, but mm-hmm. they serve a really good purpose.
They sure do. And I would agree. I too feel it's impossible to miss a bus, but people distracted driving, whatever's happening, not paying attention. So please pay attention.
Yeah. Well, Jane, if you decide not to run again, there's your job. There's your next job.
I'll think about it.
Okay. Okay. The other thing is we've alluded to this in our conversations already is Beavercrest, and that's the next school to be opening. Now I have a vague recollection that you'd hoped to be into the school this fall, but that hasn't quite happened yet.
No, but we're not far behind, David. So I really don't want to suggest a date, but I can say the students will be in for sure, if not earlier, for September of 2026, but maybe a little sooner. Fingers crossed. Mm-hmm. So things are proceeding really well, and it's just a beautiful new facility. And I already referenced that we will have some extras already there just due to the Chapman donation. So that's lovely.
And I think you mean September 2025?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was doing, yes. Thank you, Jane.
25, okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, at least this isn't Metrolinx, where the boss of Metrolinx says, "I will not tell you when the crosstown will start until it's 3 months out. 3 months out."
Mhm.
No, no.
It is a risk. It is a risk, but I think we're far enough along that I can say that with confidence.
Yeah. And I'm quite sure that the students in Markdale are just waiting for the new school.
It is, having experienced that, because I was working as a vice principal at the former OSCVI building and I moved to the new. I can attest to that. It is a lovely feeling moving into a brand new, fresh building. Everything smells great. It's shiny. It's lovely. Lovely. Although I must say our custodians do a fabulous job of keeping some of our older buildings in great shape, and our maintenance folks, they do a fantastic job.
Speaking of which, I gather that there's been quite a bit of work done over the summer. I mean, heck, I live right across my backyard. I can see OSDSS, and there were cranes, and there were trees, and there was gravel, and I don't know what they were doing, but boy, it looked like they were really doing some work.
We had a lot of work done this summer. It's remarkable. There was $21.5 million spent over the summer on our schools. And when you think it's such a short window of time that they have to do the work while our students are gone, and to find the contractors and the people that are able to do the work, it's remarkable. But there was a lot of work done, and it's exciting to see.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that there are air conditioning units or cooler units going in. Is that part of the refreshing plan, or school renewal plan to add air conditioning if it's possible?
I would, we do, if in a school, if they need a new HVAC system, they will probably look to that as well, the air conditioning aspect. So it's kind of one and the same. It happens at the same time. So we do have a few of our new buildings with air conditioning as well. But I know that has become a more prevalent issue that's being raised about these classrooms that are across the province. I'm speaking, classrooms that are too warm. And I don't know, with our climate change issues, I do see that it's just getting warmer and warmer at some of our, like, even look at the weather today, how I think we're quite a bit above the normal temperature.
Yes.
So, but that is a big part of our renewal work, is HVAC systems, or new parking lots, new roofs that go on school, addition or removal of old portables, for example, or change rooms, washrooms. It's across the map in terms of what we do, David, for our schools.
Well, I noticed also at OSDSS, they renewed the tennis courts. And
yes,
that was quite something to watch, because what we have, they basically tore it down and rebuilt it. And it was quite the project, because there's new fencing. You have tennis courts, and then you've got 6 basketball baskets. So you can't play a game because of those tennis nets. But by golly, you can have a game of horse. You can have all those lovely things that we used to do, those shoot around games that we used to play with high school. That's great.
Oh, I know, they are absolutely beautiful, and thanks to the school themselves too. We had some renewal dollars that supported that, but the school themselves just had some funds that they too put towards that school generated funds from fundraising that had happened. So we thank OSDSS for doing that as well, but they are a beautiful upgrade that was quite necessary.
Hey, it adds to the neighborhood. I like it.
Yes, exactly.
But one question does arise. I believe there was a municipal agreement for use of the tennis courts. Is that still in place?
It wasn't when they were built, but we have been working with them, and we have reached an agreement. The teams are still working out the details, but the agreement will become effective in the spring, so this coming spring. And the agreement runs from May 1st to Thanksgiving each year during the warmer months. So I think it still has to be approved by the city. So that's why I'm not quite sure. We've done the legwork, but I think the city might still have to approve that as well. We just want to make sure. What we found previously is that there was some vandalism, a lot of garbage left, broken glass, things like that. So we do need an agreement with the city in terms of when it's opened and who locks the facilities at night, all those kinds of things, because we want to protect the investment in these brand new courts. We also need to ensure that there's proper signage there, and insurance must be procured as well because it's being used. So anyway, it'll be a real benefit to not only the school, but the community. We just have to get the pieces in place for that.
Right. I know it hasn't come to Owen Sound City Council.
Okay.
It would probably, it would probably come to community services first.
Okay.
No, it hasn't come to community services. So if those who are watching are the eagle eyes on this one, just watch for that one, because we're just connecting the dots. Actually, it's quite interesting because what it does is it lays out the connections between the school, the community, and the process we follow.
It sure does.
Now, I'm going to use two words that sometimes put fear and loathing into students, and that's summer school.
Oh.
I wondered where you were going with that.
I did too.
I've been traumatized by summer school. Never went, but I was traumatized by the idea. So what and then they're not trying to make fun of it or make light of trauma, just that, summer school, I got to do this. What happened this year in the board for summer school?
Well, I'm listening to what you said, and maybe it wouldn't be traumatic, but for our secondary school students, just to provide better access across our full district, summer school for secondary students was offered by e-learning credits, so everything was online. And that is just supports, because generally we host it in Owen Sound. So those folks, students in Kincardine, Walkerton, even up in the peninsula, they struggle to get there. So no struggle. These kids could work in the summer and still do these online credits. So it's a great opportunity for them. And we had a big uptake. We know that this is a good way for students to sign up. So good uptake. So that was secondary for a summer school. But we also offer programs for elementary students. So for them, we offer a math camp and a literacy camp. So we had students doing that. For the first time this year, also, we had a really interesting, cool program where it was a travel for credit opportunity for students grade 8 to 10. And they could go and they achieved credit by doing some course assignments. And then they traveled to Ottawa, Montreal, and New York City on a trip. So that was one that, if I were still a student, I would have thought was just fabulous. They went with a lot of our staff there, and they achieve a credit while they're doing that and while they're learning. And we also had a summer learning program at 3 of our elementary schools. So that focused, and that was specific to students in those schools, that focused on building literacy and numeracy skills in primary and junior grades. So we had 42 students there. And lastly, we offered a Landing Success program, and that is for our Indigenous students. And it was held at the Aaron Root Memorial Youth Center at Saugeen First Nation. And so those students as well earned a secondary credit, while participating in other aspects of the program. So very hands-on, land-based learning, and several field trips as well. So overall, it's maybe not kind of that old days where you thought, I have to go to summer school. It's a new way of learning for many of our students, and very effective way of learning.
I find it very interesting that you flipped the script on what used to be called the graduation trip, grade 8 graduation trip, which often went to Ottawa or something like that. But what it sounds like is you've actually flipped the script a bit and said, hey, let's make this a genuine learning experience, because one of the things that can happen on these trips is if the organization or organizers are on the ball, you get to go places you wouldn't normally be allowed to go to as a member of the public.
Oh, absolutely. And that one in particular, and it was lovely because we took a range of students from grade 8 all the way to grade 10. 75 in total went. So it was a very organized trip. And I just have to thank overall our staff that come forward to teach in these experiences on the summer. That's their time and they're coming forward. And we had a lot of staff doing that. But this, yes, this Travel for Credit one was just one that first year trying it, and we will certainly be offering that one again.
Good.
And summer school, David, is partly credit recovery, but for a lot of our students, it's reach ahead work. So they're able to get an additional credit, or that has changed. I think it's not maybe what you think back on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it also allows, because you can focus and pre-plan, it also allows the school board to do those necessary repairs and upgrades and such in the schools that aren't being used.
Good point.
So it's kind of like a win-win-win.
Sure is. We had over 800 credits that were generated for students this past summer, and that number far surpasses what we've ever been able to offer. So getting students closer to the graduation diploma, which is great. That's our goal.
Yeah. Well, let me ask another question. We've talked a lot about students. Let me ask a question about teachers. What's your teacher labor supply like? Is there a shortage of teachers in the Blue? Are you still looking for Bluewater board for teachers?
I would say we're fairly stable. We've done a good job of attracting staff for those teaching positions and other positions, because we've struggled in other areas too. Where we sometimes find an issue would be that daily replacement. So that a teacher's off and we need to bring somebody in to cover. So and provincially this is an issue, just finding enough supply people to come in to cover those classes. So we're still, I know the trustees just received a report just on our recruitment efforts that we're doing on the board. And we have, we can maybe talk about that next time, just cognizant of the time, but we do have a lot of different recruitment things that we're doing to attract folks to Bluewater, both for permanent and supply staff.
Excellent. Well, you tell Jamie to put that on the
okay
for the next meeting. By the way, folks, Jamie is the communications person for the board, yes. And he actually creates a wonderful list of topics for us to discuss. Kind of like having him on staff for me, but
I'll tell him that, David.
You do that.
I will.
Oh yes, but to get back to the question, is there a teacher shortage across Ontario? We got about a minute left, but yes or no? Is there a teacher shortage across Ontario?
I would say yes.
Okay. So
and a report just came out, I think by 2027, it's going to be a significant shortage.
So if anyone is looking for a job or a vocation that is going to something to do important that is important, teaching is right there, top of the list.
Sure is. I've loved my career. I would encourage it for anyone.
Great. Well, I want to thank the both of you for this conversation about school and school board and school activities. Lori Wilder and Jane Thomson, always good to have you here. And friends, always good to have you join us. I'm David Shearman, and yes, we'll talk again.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Unbelievable. You just never see that. Oh! the OHL on Rogers TV.
In para hockey, the ice tilts in favor of men. But that will never stop us.
United by passion.